Join me in this review where I'll discuss whether this Honda VFR1200 Crosstourer is the best budget touring bike stroke adventure bike on the market. Now let's get our gear on and take it out on the road. So we've got the Honda VFR1200 Crosstourer. This is my 2015 model. Now I've owned this for just shy of a year now, and I thought it'd be best to own it for a little while, get it through a few seasons, and then I can give it my honest review. So that's what I've done. I've owned it since December last year. Done a few tours on it. I've done about 5,000 miles on it now, so I've got a pretty good idea of what makes this a good or a bad bike. Now let's get the elephant out of the room. Since I've owned this bike, there's been a debate. Is it an adventure bike? Is it a touring bike? Being called a cross tourer. Now, I just want to set the record straight. Just because it's not a BMW GS and just because it's not a Triumph doesn't mean it's not an adventure bike. It's classed as an adventure bike. It's categorized as an adventure bike. It looks like an adventure bike. If you look at the stylings, they're pretty much spot on to an adventure bike. So do you know what? For the purpose of this review, I am going to call the VFR1200 Crosstourer an adventure bike, because in my opinion that's what it is. It rides like an adventure bike. When I'm sat on it, I'm up high, my bars are here, I've got the screen, and there is no difference really. And ultimately, it takes me on great adventures. Now let's just talk about the bike itself. I went into a shop called Doble's. It's a Honda dealership. I actually went in there to buy a Triumph, funny enough. Now I've never ridden adventure bikes. This is my first one. I'm new to the scene. I didn't really know what I was looking for or looking at, so I was guided by the salesman really, and some research I've done online. But for the budget I had a budget of £6,000, no more. I couldn't spend any more. The Triumphs that I was looking at had already had their life. They were on 40,000 miles. One had 50,000 miles. So they were out the window. I didn't want them. They've already done their life, and they're just going to start falling apart. Then I was looking at the Africa Twins, and that's really what I had in my mind. As an adventure bike for a solo rider, an Africa Twin was drummed into me over and over again. That's the bike you want, that's the bike you want. And it is a great piece of kit, and I really, really did want one. However, they're just out of my price range. I had a budget, you know, I haven't got £20,000 to spend on a GS. I haven't got £16,000, whatever it costs to spend on a brand new Africa Twin. You know, I wanted as much as I could get on a budget. So the salesman said, have you ever considered a cross tourer? We've got one in. And I thought, you know, I have no idea what a cross tourer is, never heard of one. He said, I'll take you out the back and I'll go and show you. And I expected to see just some sort of cruiser, just a normal touring bike. And when he showed me around the corner and I saw this, I thought, no way, he must have had the wrong bike there. That's an adventure bike, that's not a touring bike. And instantly my eye was drawn. And what made it even better for me is it's a Honda. I've always known Honda have the reliability, the build quality, and I thought, you know what, £6,000 for that? I was expecting him to say it had 50,000 miles on it. It didn't. I bought this last December for £6,000 from a Honda dealership with 10,000 miles on the clock. I mean, it was a steal. I took it there and then. I couldn't really wait to test ride it. I did test ride it, and I was very, very impressed when I rode it. And that was it. I took it home, and I haven't turned back since, and I have zero intention of swapping it for anything else anytime soon. Now, one big downside to this bike, and it still is a downside for me really, and that's its weight. It's a heavy bike. If you're considering buying a Crosstourer, great, but you've got to consider the absolute weight of this bike. And being a V4, it's quite top heavy. It weighs 275 kilograms. That's its curb weight. And if you go for the automatic version, which is the DCT, so they do a DCT version, and that's just an automatic bike. It's got the same amount of gears, but it's got no clutch. You can just ride it like an auto, really, and it's another option that these bikes have. This is a manual, so I'm reviewing the manual version. Yeah, so its dry weight is 275 kilograms, which is heavy. If you don't really know how a 275 kilogram feels, it's heavy. I'm 6 foot and I'm quite heavily built. I consider myself to be fairly strong, and it's heavy for me. Wheeling it in and out the shed, if it's not on a flat surface, I can't move it. It's that heavy. So that's one drawback to this bike, and it's something to consider if you're looking at buying one, because yeah, it's something I didn't notice really until after I bought it. But saying that, once you're on the bike and you're moving along, that weight completely disappears really straight away, and then you're on a bike that just glides on the road. It really does ride superb. Now, as far as touring goes on this bike, it hasn't got the biggest fuel tank in the world. It's not like, this is where the GSs and Triumphs have one over on the Crosstourer. Their tank capacities, they're looking at 45 litres. So if you're doing some real long distance touring, you're not having to worry too much about fuel stops. Where on this, it's just a standard 21 litre tank. It's not the biggest tank in the world. I get about 140 miles of range out of it if I'm riding sensibly. But again, it's not a drawback for me because I'm only touring the UK. I'm going to do the odd trip abroad. I'm not going to be going into the outback anywhere. There's going to be fuel garages wherever I go. So for me, it's not a negative really. Now, the chassis on this bike is really impressive. Now, this is my 30th motorcycle I've owned in the last 25 years. And I've owned everything from trail bikes to touring bikes to cruisers. But this, hands down, is the most comfortable bike I've ever ridden. And for a big, tall, heavy touring, or we're going to call touring adventure bike, the handling is absolutely superb. It really is incredible. Now I have the inverted telescopic front forks, which in old terms is upside down forks. And they have a really smooth travel on them for quite a tall adventure bike. They're not too bouncy, you've got some adjustment on the top, you can adjust it. I've never touched them. But I think it's got the perfect stiffness on the front end. It's not too hard, not too soft, and it doesn't wallow. So it doesn't, like a big bike, it doesn't wallow around corners. And then you've got the ProLink rear shock, which again is adjustable. You can have it anywhere between really soft and really hard. That's something I do adjust quite often, depending whether I've got a passenger or a luggage on. I'll just adjust that shock to what suits the weight of the bike really. At the moment, on a general day-to-day, I've got it on medium, and it really does perform really well around corners, which is surprising. I didn't think it was going to. I thought it was just going to be brilliant on a straight line. So again, another really impressive feature of this bike is the handle in itself. Now, the length of this bike overall is 1.6 meters, and that's about standard for a bike of this size. And the seat height is quite comfortable, 850 mil. I'm 6 foot, well, just under 6 foot, and my feet are flat-footed on the floor. So the seat does sit quite nicely inside the bike, so it's not like on tops. So if you're on the shorter side, then this bike would probably be on the okay side. I think if you're 5'7" and above, you'd be okay on this. Now, something that is worth considering on these bikes, it doesn't bother me, so I've never done anything about it, but the screen is quite short on this, so the wind buffering is a little bit of an issue. Now, the 2016 models and above have an adjustable screen, so there's a lever here and you pull the lever down and the screen will come up a few inches just to get rid of that wind buffing on your face. Again, I run a Nolan crash helmet, so I've got a flip front, and I spend most of the time with the helmet flipped up and back, so my face, I'm sort of open face. So wind buffeting is something I'm just used to, and it doesn't bother me whatsoever. But if you're someone that likes no wind on your face whatsoever, this bike is a little bit short on the screen, but it's an easy adjustment just to attach, that you can get attachment from the top of the screen of a couple of inches, and then that will throw the wind over your head. So again, it's an issue that can be dealt with quite easily. So the pros to this VFR1200 Crosstourer for me are, initially, it's a Honda. Now I know that may split opinion, but for me, Hondas have always had that build reliability that I've always liked. This thing just feels like it's just going to go on and on and on and on without any trouble. And I certainly have had no trouble in the last year owning it. The big V41200 engine is an absolute beauty. It growls when you're riding. It's got that power delivery and growlness of a big V-twin with the smoothness of a inline four. So it's a perfect balance for power and noise. This runs on 97 newtons of torque and 127 brake horsepower, so yeah, it's no slow machine by any means. As you can see here, the overtaking is an absolute doddle. The comfort of the bike is, again, a massive plus for me. I've had no issue riding this for days on end, and the most I've ridden this is for 5 hours in one go, and it's brilliant. Yeah, the OEM seat is a little bit narrow and can ache your backside after a little while, but again, there's mods you can do for that, and that's just in my opinion. You know, it might not hurt anyone else's bum, but if you can ride 4 hours on any motorbike and it only just starts to get a little bit uncomfortable, that's not bad going at all. And again, the power of this thing is just phenomenal. I absolutely adore this power. There is a slight drawback with this thing, and probably the reason people don't call them full-on adventure bikes. Now, that's the traction control and the ABS. They are on all of the time. You cannot turn them off, which is probably why this thing would be rubbish off-road. Now, there is torque control, so I can control the amount of torque that's delivered to the rear wheel. And that's just on a button here, so you see it's got torque control there, and as you look up on the dash, it indicates how much. So I press the button down, I can just choose between the amount of torque that I want from 1 bar to 4. And quite often I will ride with that torque control off, just because I want to use the full power of the bike. So again, that's why it's not classed as a conventional full-on adventure bike, because taking it off-road is going to be pretty naff, in my opinion. It's too heavy. The ABS and the traction control are on all the time, so spinning the rear wheel is going to be really hard. And when you're off-road, you want to be able to control that spin with your throttle, not, you don't want the bike kicking in and playing all sorts of games with you. But my conclusion of this bike, and it goes back to my question right at the beginning, is it an adventure bike? Is it a touring bike? I'm going to say it's the perfect adventure bike, because it has the styling and every characteristic an adventure bike has and needs. But it doesn't have all the technology that a BMW, say, or a Triumph has. Every setting under the sun. And I mean, a BMW GS, they are beautiful machines, don't get me wrong, but they've got enough settings to take you to the moon. I've spoken to people that own these Africa Twins and whatnot with all these different settings that you can do for this, that and the other, and they say, really, we've just paid for all of that, and generally we just put it on one set and leave it there. So it kind of seems a bit wasted, and that's where this bike is absolutely perfect, because it has none of that. It's about as simple as it comes. I've got the controls on here of a standard bike, and all I can really do is adjust the torque setting. And that's it. I've got a little bit of adjustment on the suspension. I don't have any technology on here. I don't have any electronics on the suspension or anything like that. It's just a raw machine that you control. And I have zero interest in taking it off-road. So for me, it's perfect. It's an adventure bike that you can use on the road all the time. And let's just face it, Most people that are going to buy a massive adventure bike are not going to take it off the road. They want it for the styling. Well, if that's all you want, grab a Crosstourer, because they are amazing value for money and offer everything you need for an on-the-road adventure style bike.